Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sparing Partners. And I'm Monica Paolini from Senza Fili, and I'm your host. And my guest today is Simona Marinova, and she is about to be a newly minted PhD any day today from the University of Toronto. And at the same time, she's been able to work at Bell Canada, where she is a solution architect in RAN strategy, and she's been doing a lot of work on Open RAN, network slicing, and other topics as well. We're going to talk today about talents in telecom and the difficulty to attract talent. As I've talked to probably to many of you, when I joined telecom, it was hard for me to do that because I didn't have any background in telecoms. But I thought it was the coolest thing on earth. I mean, I was absolutely psyched, and it was like, this is like the best I could possibly do. And apparently now, young people don't think that anymore, and I find it really surprising. But hey, that's where it is. And so it's great to talk to Simona because she has a different view. She's much closer to that to the other end, and so it's great to talk about that. So, Simona, why don't you tell us who you are, what you've been doing so far, and maybe what you plan to do?
Sure. Thank you, Monica, and thank you for the invitation. As you mentioned, I think you did a fairly good introduction for me. I'd been doing my PhD at the University of Toronto, and I'd focused my research in telco space for quite some time now, did master's and PhD in it. And I've been working in Bell Canada for a few years now, where I'm part of the strategy team right now on the radio access networks, working on, as you mentioned, Open RAN, network slicing, and similar topics. And I'm for sure very excited to have this conversation. I think it's a very timely topic as we're transitioning in telco, moving towards more software, more convergence of these different systems, and we need to attract talent of different backgrounds.
So may I ask you just start with a more personal question? Well, what do you decide to, when you pick telecom in the first place?
Well, my story is a little bit different, maybe. It wouldn't be the best story to sort of attract talent to motivate them to start. But um, I used to be a professional or semi-professional athlete, and then due to circumstances around my career, I had to end it very early when I was a teenager, just before I had to start university. Um, so then when I was picking my university degree undergrad, I decided to go in the electrical and computer engineering because I was looking for a challenge. And at that point, I decided on telco because it looked like a very interesting area to explore, a very big challenge for myself at that point with my background that I wanted to tackle. And for sure, when I started my undergrad, and that was 10 plus years ago, telco was still very much attractive, at least in Macedonia. And it was attracting a lot of talent from high schools to join the university program. So that's how I started, and then it all went from there. I
Yeah.
did enjoy my research very much and continued master's and PhD in it.
So you finished your college in Macedonia, and then you came to the US, to Canada, sorry, for the PhD, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay, very good. Now, so what you said is that when you started, it was still cool. So I guess you were still in my kind of, and now apparently it's not all that cool. I mean, from what I hear when I talk to students, um, is that, well, they really like rather go to, say, hyperscalers or other things, and telecoms is not. Do you think that that's the case? I mean, is that something you see among, say, your peers or younger people?
Well, I think generally in the world, there's been a little bit less of, um, I guess, motivation to do telecom as an undergrad. In my case, like I come from North Macedonia, and in the last 10 years, it's been like a very steady decrease over the years of number of students that actually enroll in the program. And they usually go over pick something like a computer engineering or computer science programs that open the opportunities to work as in software development. Uh, and to your point, to then go to hyperscalers or even startups that do sort of more software development, AI, ML type of work. And I think I see the same trend. I don't know if it's as bad everywhere in the world, but I would say that generally speaking, like I would say traditional telecom degrees, undergrads are less and less attractive. But that's also, I think, been because of the supply and demand. 10 years ago, we might have had different demand for those types of hard skills that are very much, towards radio access networks and the very physical layer sort of that you need to learn about, or transport networks and routers and configurations and stuff like that. Over time, there might have been a little bit less demand, but that did not mean that we should stop by doing these degrees, right? So I think we went in the opposite direction, and now we need talent in those areas as well again. So it's a
Yeah.
cycle.
So do you think it's is it because there is, there are other things that are cooler to do, or we're not presenting ourselves in the proper way? Because, I recently was talking to somebody that was it actually ended up doing a PhD in AI, and then focusing on AI and telecoms. But basically, his point was that he wants to do AI, but AI is everything. So I mean, yeah, you can do research in AI, but then you need to apply it to something, and it could be telecoms, it could be manufacturing, whatever it is, or just do research. So, is it that people have this view that telecoms is not AI, or something? Are we not presenting the right message out there?
Well, I think there's definitely a challenge, right? Because telecoms are painted in the world in a different way, I think. And, it might have been the case before, like 10, 15 years ago, with 2G, 3G, partially even with 4G, that, telecom was pretty much siloed different network domains and, sort of very specific skill sets that are required to run the network. But over time, especially with how the network's been evolving and the convergence of network infrastructure, the compute network storage becoming very much unified. I think there needs more and more talent that's had the skill set of software development, has the skill set of data science, machine learning engineers, and I'm sure that we can do a better job. I'll put it this way. I'm sure that we can do a better job to spread awareness among young folks, in high school or doing their undergrad, that the move of telco to tech co also means that we need that skill set in telco very badly these days. And there's a large set of opportunities that needs to be explored in this. I know for sure that many telcos in this world right now are relying on their own software development teams for a lot of their automation frameworks, a lot of their orchestration, and they're relying on their own AI ML teams for the AI ops and the use cases that they're building on top of to optimize the network or orchestrate and automate the network. So, but I know that we can do much more, and I know that we can push the boundaries much more when it comes to creating better networks and using this young talent to do that.
But isn't it also a problem that the people doing the hiring, I say we need talent, so it means that we don't have enough. And a lot of people, and that's not just operators, it's true of vendors and it's true of analysts as well. I mean, you see okay, so I don't want to sound like I'm just saying all those terrible things about well, not terrible, but saying, oh, we don't, in other fields, but among analysts is the same thing. That we tend to have a sort of an aging type of staff. The people that are working, the people that will be doing the hiring tend to be older and tend to don't have the same amount of skills. So when I talk to people about AI and there are some that really know their stuff, but a lot of them don't. And again, this is true across the board. And so when you're looking for people, it might be hard because you're not in it to start with. So you're obviously going to present an idea in an image of what you have, which is kind of old school because we are old school. I mean, so I wonder whether that is also a limiting factor there. And I don't know whether you see that. I mean, I'm not talking about, obviously, but is it something that you see when you go like to a conference?
Yeah, I would say, and that's a very good question. I think the way that I like to describe it is, especially when we talk about AI ML, there's two very different sides of the spectrum that I see in our industry, and especially when I go to conferences and have opportunities to talk with many people. On one side, we have uh, I would say the ones that strongly believe that AI will solve all of our problems. Um, and might not necessarily have the AI background. It's just, the strong belief that this black box will be the fix for all problems. And then on the other end, we have the non-believers, people that think that AI is the scam and that we should stay investigating different mathematical models, what we've done or in the history of networks, right? And I think where we need to be somewhere in the middle, right? We need to find the right balance, and we need to educate ourselves to know what the technology behind it is, to know the fundamentals, and then to try to find the right tool to solve the problems that we have in networks, right? And so when I position it like that, then I think that part of the challenge that we have when we talk about telco to tech is really we need to keep an open mind, and we need to also reskill talent that's already present, within the companies, right? Because we always need to educate ourselves about what's out there and where we want to go, and we need to, go through some cultural shifts that might be a little bit more difficult to achieve. So as you pointed out, that might be I would say the cause of the challenge of not being able to sometimes not being able to find the right talent, or not knowing what you need to be looking for.
Now, you are more familiar to the, like what companies are doing to attract talent in telecoms. Is there something that you think we could do better as an industry?
I think as an industry, what I would like to see is a more presence, more spreading more awareness when talking to young talent. Going maybe presenting what telco means and what are the vast majority of jobs within the telco space, right? It's not we shouldn't be really thinking about just a network engineer working on a base station, or just programming a route or something like that. Telco is a very broad area. There's so many different topics that can be covered. There's so many different degrees and backgrounds that can help, and diversifying across the board in talent in I don't know, electrical and computer engineering is one, computer science, any AI ML based skills, but also other types of skills really help, explore what we can do to move the needle. And I think we're just, at this point in time, we're just scratching the surface. So I would like to see more of these, I would say, uh, messages spread around that, almost any degree uh, with the right fundamentals can get you a very nice, very exciting job in telco where you're literally pushing the boundary of connectivity, right? Like, I know that, we've probably started taking telco for granted, right? It's almost like a utility, it's like your electricity, but it goes beyond that. And I think as we get more and more interesting applications out there that need better connectivity and need more stable, even more reliable networks, then we'll see that, it's a very exciting journey to be on, and to try and build the better networks for the future. So I would like to see that message spread more, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that you said is kind of interesting is that it's not just you need a background in RF or whatever. So I think in telecoms you want to broaden the kind of pool, because this diversity is going to be crucial to actually evolve and stay on top of things. So we need to present a wider view and cast a wider net at the same time. And one of the dimensions, actually, so there are multiple dimensions, but one is to actually get more women to come in, which, we still are not doing very well. But it's also true that everything that is kind of more like engineering type of background, you tend not to have as many women, or to hire them and to retain them. Do you think that that would be helpful to get more diversity in terms of gender diversity? Or is it just a sort of a lost battle? We should just assume that women are not all that interested in telecoms and like, oh, whatever, that's what it is.
It's an interesting question, and I'll go back to my story about my undergrad that I did in North Macedonia. In my year, actually, I think there were more than 50% women that enrolled in the program, which to me is fascinating to this day. But if that trend continued to be like that in Macedonia, to the best of my knowledge. So I think generally speaking, we do need to diversify. And by diversification, we also need good representation, let's say, of women in tech, women in STEM, and women in telco by default. I would dare to say that in Canada, we've been doing a solid job. Of course, there can always be more, but I would dare to say that we've been doing a good job trying to attract talent. And I think one of the most important messages that comes to mind to me is that when we think about engineering, I think most of our are sort of conditioned to think about hard skills. And to me, soft skills are equally or even more important. Equal as important or even more. So I think it's maybe contradictory when you think about my career trajectory and sticking to graduate school for so long. But I think there's a level of hard skills that is like a baseline that you might need to get a job done or to get the job. But then what keeps you at a job and keeps you growing and doing great work is the soft skills. So I think we're sometimes maybe underestimating the power of soft skills, in terms of leadership and in terms of effective communication, in terms of time management, critical thinking. And that's why I mean, like, when we think about what a degree is that can get you a telco job, we're, I think, underestimating the soft skills that make you actually do an amazing job to shine. So that would be my message if there's folks out there that think that they would not be a good fit because they lack some hard skills. I think hard skills are something that you can learn, and the telco world is showing that. I think there's a lot of folks in the telecoms, telcos or vendors, and other companies that have been reskilling a lot, right, as the technology evolves. So you start as a network engineer, but at some point you move to automation. At some point you start doing a little bit of software scripting and then software development here and there. And then at some point you're like, oh, I can use this ML tool to help me fix some problem or automate some problem. So I think when you have the right mindset, you can always reskill and find what works best for you in that point in your career and what works best for a company where you are and where you're going to go.
Yeah, and I think that I completely agree about the soft skills, especially because I don't have the engineering degree. My first degree is in philosophy, so I have no background in telecoms, and I didn't think that hurt me in any way because you learn things as you go along. But I think that the soft skills are really important, and soft skills don't come in one way. It's not that you either have them or you don't have them. You can have different soft skills. And that's where having more diversity in terms of gender, nationality, whatever, age, whatever the diversity takes you, it's important because I would say that the hard skills tend to be more standardized. You either know math or you don't. There's not different types of math, but there are different ways to manage people to relate to people, to work together, and to have diversity there. I think it's really helpful for the, and so to have more, say, gender diversity would contribute not just to have, it's not just, well, even if you don't have all the hard skills, you're still okay, but to contribute different types of soft skills that together make a better company. I don't know, that you agree to that?
Oh, I completely agree. I think that we need different perspectives always, right? That, keeps our minds open to all the possibilities, and we need more and more of that. I think that's generally speaking across, I think, life, right? It's not
Yeah, it's
just
not
telco or not
telecom.
the industry, right? But you always need that, you always need a fresh, different perspective to open your mind to possibilities because, you can have your own opinions, but that's because you've been exposed to certain content within your life, right? So we need that for sure.
Absolutely. I think we're at the edge of our conversation, but Simona, it was absolutely great talking to you and to get, like the fresher perspective on things. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. Always a pleasure, Monica.
Excellent. Thank you all for listening in. And if you like it, do subscribe to the Sense of Healy podcast. And we hope to see you in the next episodes. Thank you so much.